In a series of videos, we've been building a simulator to explore how geography and strategy combine to determine the fate of empires. But last version had two major problems. The fundamental algorithm for war was flawed, and it offered players too little strategic control. Also, performance was horrible. In this video, we'll fix it, and we'll see if the new version can simulate ancient principles of war. The simulation is all about condensing war to an algorithm, and geography is at the heart of it. The algorithm should be simple, but still capture important dynamics. Last version, battles were decided mostly by comparing the travel costs to contested cells. At the capital, the travel cost was 0, which meant that it was very difficult to conquer it, even if the defending empire had no army at all. Clearly, defeated yet invincible capitals isn't what has been going on in history, so the algorithm doesn't make sense. We need a new war algorithm. What I came up with is that when an attacker wants a cell, it gets it if it can pay the price in soldiers to take it. If you don't have any soldiers, you can't win. The secret sauce is in the price. It's calculated like this. The cost of taking a cell is equal to the defender's army size times the supply ratio times defensiveness times encirclement times an attrition constant. The larger the defending army, the harder and bloodier it is taking the cell. And conversely, if the defender has 0 army, everything goes to 0. It's free to take the cell. Travel cost enters in the supply ratio term. If both empires have the same cost of reaching a cell, the supply ratio is 1 and nothing happens in the formula. But if the attacker has twice, the cost of taking the cell doubles, and so on. Defensiveness is a special penalty for cells with slope, rivers or fortifications. We'll get back to those. The higher the defensiveness value of a cell, the more it costs to take it. Encirclement is a multiplier that makes it cheaper to take cells which you have surrounded, but more expensive to take cells in which the enemy surrounds you. This makes it 2.5 times as expensive to attack the enemy by tunneling into opposing territory. And finally, the attrition constant is a setting for fine-tuning the general cost, normally set to 0.05. In addition to this price in army, you need to pay the treasury cost of taking a cell, which is only related to the travel cost to the cell in question. But when the cell is conquered, the defender also loses army according to a much simpler formula. Attacker army times the attrition constant. So with a massive attacking army, you will wear the enemy down quickly. The war algorithm is now much more about army size than before. Without an army, you can't conquer, and the enemy will take cells from you without paying a price in blood. The other major problem in last version was a lack of control. In a simulation game about geography, you must be able to use geography to your advantage. As before, you can invest in reducing travel costs across different types of terrain, but you can also manually choose where to expand your empire or where to conquer. You just choose manual expansion and queue cells to conquer, but the cost varies. On auto expansion mode, the cheapest cell is chosen. In war, you can use this to your advantage by cutting off enemy cells. Cells that can't be reached from the capital are lost. An empire that loses their capital is lost entirely, so you can go straight for their heart, even though it costs a lot due to the encirclement modifier. But just as in real war, you need to watch your supply lines. If you try to reach the capital with a concentrated push, they can easily cut you off, and then your entire advance is lost. Another new element of control are roads. A road cuts the travel cost for a cell, but requires upkeep. So if you want to expand towards a distant frontier, it's probably a good investment to build a road there. Upgrades to the road cuts travel costs further. And to defend yourself, you can build fortifications. They increase the cost in soldiers an attacker has to pay for taking your cell and slows them down. After taking a fortified cell, there is a cooldown for the attacker, meaning the defender has more time to respond. The worst problem with last version was of course performance. The major change to improve it is to cut the number of cells on the map. As a result, borders look less organic, But with the other changes, individual cells become more important when choosing where to expand, especially early on. So, with these new mechanics, does the game capture important elements of war and empire building? Let's go to a classic text and find out. In The Art of War, the Chinese general Sun Tzu laid down some timeless principles of warfare. I think the game does a good job at capturing two of the most important, but misses on a third. Sun Tzu says victorious warriors win first and then go to war, meaning that you must have a plan. Those who start a war and then look for a way to win will lose. To win in the game, you must either have superior army, technology, or good geographic advantage, for instance being able to reach the enemy capital easily. You should not start wars with superior foes. Sun Tzu also says, military tactics are like water, which runs away from high places and hastens downwards. So in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. In the game, this means fighting on terrain that you're specialized in, but not your enemy. If you have invested in river travel and your enemy in forest, you should fight in and close to rivers. Strike at encircled territory and when you can cut off enemy supply lines. Avoid fighting far away from your capital and close to the enemy capital unless you can deal a decisive blow. But some of the most well-known sayings from Sun Tzu relate to information. All warfare is based on deception, and that to win, you must know both yourself and your enemy. This is not captured in the game because everything except from the plans of the players is visible to everyone. There is no hidden information on army strength or dispositions. Maybe that is something I should come back to later on. Try the new version at empiresimulator.io. If you want to simulate rather than play, you can use sandbox mode, which lets you observe the AI play. You can choose between random placement of capitals or real capital locations. Also play with the settings. If we, for instance, increase the probability of rebellion to the max, we soon get a lot of splinter states. The next step for the game, which is a big one and I'm not sure I can pull it off actually, is to make it multiplayer. I have tried to improve the AI, but it's hard to get it to play as strategically as I want it to. I also have other ideas for new gameplay mechanics that I'm really excited about, but that would only work in multiplayer. Or what do you think? A lot of your previous suggestions have gone into this version of the game, so keep them coming. And see you next time.